Welcome to the CHGO Blackhawks podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Good afternoon. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. We are here in our West Loop studios. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Make sure you hit us up in the chat. Make sure if you are watching us on YouTube right now, you smash that like button. Let us know you're there. Hit that like button. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to the page and, of course, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. I'm going to initially, right off the bat, apologize for my voice. Fighting a little bit of a cold. Guys, I have COVID. Sorry, I didn't tell you before the show. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. No, I'm fine. No COVID. I feel fine. I just sound like crap.
Yeah.
So instead of just bad hockey takes, which is what everyone's used to for me, my voice is also going to sound bad.
That's fine. So. You got that gravelly.
Yeah.
That gravelly, the rugged gravelly voice going on.
Sure. Yeah.
It's all right. This team doesn't deserve your best voice. So,
Yeah, that's it.
That'll show them.
So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a little bit of fun. If you missed it earlier this week, that would be yesterday, actually. My Blackhawks Beat piece comes out every Tuesday morning at 8:30, unless I've got some big story going. I handed out my awards at the 25 game mark, which is not quite the quarter season, but for convenience, we're going to call it the quarter season. We're going to do MVP. We're going to do best forward, best defenseman, biggest surprise, and biggest disappointment of the season so far. And we'll also dive into some other territory as well. But we're going to start the show with what we ended last night's show with, Lucas Reichel. Lucas Reichel has been sent back to Rockford, so his call-up for one game, of course, very brief. And despite the Hawks saying when he's here, he'll be here, kind of what we speculated, saying this is a, injury-only sort of a situation. Reichel goes back to Rockford. So I want to get your temperature on that, fellas, and before we get into the awards.
I mean, there's a part of me that wants to be rabbled up and upset that Kyle Davidson said when he's up, and he's here for good. And they only brought him up for one game, like 10 hours basically with the team. But then there's another part of me that's just like, okay, so I think him being up at the NHL level at this point of the season, while it would probably do him some good to play with Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane as long as possible this season, like we talked about last show, there's also no guarantee that he would even be put in that situation. That's up to Luke Richardson. But I think the way he's been playing in the AHL this season, you get him the opportunity to play more than 13, 14 minutes a night. You give him an opportunity to play 20 minutes a night as the go-to guy on an Ice Hogs team that has found their offense that has been hiding for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And they're playing competitive hockey. They're winning games. That's the right environment for him to be in. I think now is, if the call is to be up in the NHL for the rest of the season, I think now would even be a little early because I feel like there's just too much of the season of losing for him to experience. I think being in Rockford a little bit longer, being in that winning environment, that competitive winning environment a little bit longer will be good for him. That's where I leave it at.
Yeah, I'm not upset at all or surprised, to be honest with you. I think when his permanent call-up is made, it's going to be a little more calculated, a little more fanfare will be made out of it. Mm-hmm. It will be, a couple of days before a game so he could actually practice. And I think there was more of, hey, Toews can't go. We need an offensive guy. Let's give this to Lucas to be like, hey, yeah, we were critical of you about a month ago, but you've picked it up. Now we're going to give you a little reward and say, hey, we noticed what you're doing. We haven't forgot about you.
Right.
But now you got to go back. Ice Hawks play tonight. They play against the first place Milwaukee Admirals tonight. It's a big game. Yeah. They probably want one of their best players. So, he took the team flight home, probably got home back to Rockford 3-4 in the morning, and hopefully got his nap and a luncheon today because he's got a big game tonight. And they're back home. Their next game's Friday at home. So I was chatting in the Die Hard only Discord channel with some of our Blackhawks fans, and someone like, well, I'm surprised Taves is so quick over the flu. Well, the game's not till Friday, but you're also back home. So if he wakes up, if he still feels like crap on Thursday, you could get Lucas Reichel back here on Friday.
We also don't know it was the flu to be certain. They said non-COVID illness.
Yeah,
he could have what I have and just feel
once again,
run down.
you and Jonathan Taves are forever connected.
Well, we've been making out a lot lately.
Well, that'll happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a stomach bug. Like, it could, whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, he's sick. It takes 2 weeks to get over being sick. Like, that's usually not the case anymore.
And the fact that he was possibly considering playing last night shows you he's probably pretty close.
Right, yeah.
So when Chuckle Mucko brings up a good point, he says probably just a one-off litmus test for Reichel just to gauge the temperature of his progress. I don't think that's necessarily a bad take. Get him in there, watch him for a game, and of course, it's not an ideal situation, but it's a bit of a reward. Because look, if you're calling somebody up from Rockford and it's not Reichel, he's going to be like, come on.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, not that he's a guy that's going to stir the pot by any means, but he's going to say like, well, come on, like why should Slavin go up or someone else?
Yeah.
When I'm clearly the best and most NHL ready player on this team, I've earned a shot to get a call up here for an injury, and I think there's some truth to that. But getting a look at him at the NHL level, they're going to send him back with some tape and say, okay, here's the stuff we want you to focus on. Here's where we thought you played well. Here's where you could have been better. Keep these things in mind as you play. And, everyone's got – what I like about the way the Hawks run things is that it's an organizational plan. Mm-hmm. So everyone in Rockford is in touch with everybody in Chicago working on a plan for development. That's a good thing. So, hey, one game, give him a look, give him a reward. And I'm sure he was told, like, hey, he probably knew when he came up.
Yeah.
He's not going to stick here for a long time.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure it wasn't a surprise to be sent back. I'm sure when he was brought in, they probably said like, "Hey, we just need you for this game, and then you'll come back." And yeah, I think if the plan for him has been as expressed by the Blackhawks front office to him as much as they said it was in public in the media, where Kyle Davidson was basically saying when he's ready to be in the NHL, he's going to be up. He's going to be here for the whole season. Mm-hmm. If that is still the plan for the more, like you said, Greg, like the more like thought out, planned out, official, like, okay, he's up and this is his opportunity to be up now for the remainder of the season. If that has been expressed to him, I'm sure that like if last night it was Brett Seney that came up for a game and then was sent back, like I don't think he would be upset about it. But I mean, it can't hurt to like Chucko Mucko said, the little litmus test, a little dip your toe in the NHL water. There's no problem in doing that.
Well, I was personally excited that he was up because it gave us something new to watch.
Right.
And I was hopeful that he would stay, just selfishly. So because part of the issue with, look, we love our jobs. We say it all the time. We would never change this job for anything else ever.
No.
Aside from maybe like right wing on the top line. Fine. We could talk about that.
I would trade places with Aaron Judge.
Yeah, that would be all right.
That'd be okay.
Yeah, sure. But
since I can't, I'm happy to be here.
82 games of this will be a grind. And
is a grind.
There's no one there's really no one on this team aside from maybe Kurashev and Soderblom where you can really kind of watch and say, what's this player going to be 2, 3, 4 years down the road?
Yeah.
Because chances are, if anyone remains, it's probably those two. Maybe. If you got Reichel here, that's a guy you can at least see as part of the future and watch his development game to game. Like, I'll tell you, as soon as he's up here for good, we're going to have whole segments dedicated to his game, right? Yeah. Like the Reichel report or whatever you want to call it. Like, that's going to be the primary focus of every post-game show we do is how was Lucas Reichel tonight? Mm-hmm. That will be the biggest story. So, selfishly, I wanted it to happen. But Mario, I think you're right. Where it is a little early. It was a little herky-jerky. Give him time to come up maybe after a little bit of a break, get a few practices under his belt, find some chemistry, and then just once he's here, he's here.
Let him be an AHL All-Star and then call him up.
That sounds
How
great.
about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. and then send him back down for hopefully a Calder Cup run.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, the point made last night, too, of give him some time to play with Kane and Taves while he can, I think there's value there, too.
Absolutely.
Yes, I 100% agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would much rather like to see him get 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, playing with those guys, hopefully on their line, or at least getting to be, practices with them and all the off-ice stuff. That would definitely serve him better than playing the last 6 weeks of the season with, Jason Dickinson and Sam Lafferty and
Taylor Radish.
And those guys and being on a line with who knows who's going to be here after March 3rd. Kane Taves maybe gone. Domi Athanasiou probably gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot to do.
Well, even aside from just line mates, just being here and being in the presence of veterans like that will help too.
Yeah.
Like going to play for one of the greatest captains in NHL history. He has that reputation. I think it took a little bit of a hit last year, but it seems to have come back a little bit this year.
Yep.
To be around Patrick Kane and watch how these pros prepare every game, even if he's not a line mate with those guys, that stuff matters too. So there's value in him being up here with the team as it's currently assembled, hopefully. But again, we don't know.
Yeah, being in a locker room that has those veterans around him is beneficial. I hope he gets the opportunity to do that before those players are gone. And it's harder for those young players to come up and get their footing in the NHL when they are like the veterans or like they are or like the veterans are like second year players. Like it's really hard to do that. So, before this season when people were saying, the Blackhawks, it should just be all the kids this year. It's like, well, that doesn't really do you anything. When you're in the NHL and you look around the locker room and it's all people who are like, what do we do now? That's not going to work. So I think Reichel, if he has an opportunity to be around this team with Kane and Taves and Domi and Seth Jones and McCabe and Murphy and have all those guys around him for a little bit of time, I think that will do a little bit of benefit. But we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see when that actual long-term call-up is actually going to happen.
I want to address, before we get to our awards here, I want to address a couple things in the chat. Brandon says Arvid should go down to the Hogs for a recharge, and our friend Region Rev said it last night. Why didn't Luke put in the backup goalie in the third to get minutes? The way the team is going, he'll be thrown in. You can't. First of all, Soderblom is fine. He's playing well. He does not look like he's spooked. He does not look like he's seeing ghosts out there. He's playing fine. He's been one of the best and most consistent Blackhawks. So there's no reason to send him down just because the team is losing.
Well, and who the hell else is going to play?
That's the thing.
The other Ice Hogs goalie.
You also can't look at your team and say,
here's Jackson Stauber.
Right. You can't look at Connor Murphy and Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane and say, you know what? Soderblom's lost too many games. We're going to send him to Rockford, and Jackson Stauber and Dylan Wells are the tandem right now. They're going to say, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Are we trying to do anything here? Like, the reality is they're bad. They know that. But you can't just throw in the towel. This is not NHL 23 where you can just do whatever you want with your roster and there's no consequence. You have to remember, this is a room full of professionals that dedicate their lives to winning hockey games for the Chicago Blackhawks. And if you're just going to pull out the best goalie in the organization right now, that's at least a pro,
Right.
they're going to look at that and say, what the hell? That's how you lose a room.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say, what is this about then? If this is about Rockford, cool. Like, then we'll just show up, we'll give 60%, we'll collect our checks and go home. And that's how you F up a culture. That's how you lose a locker room. That's how a coach loses a room. You can't. Soderblom is fine.
He's here out of necessity.
Right. And there's no indication that he is getting worse.
No.
He was fine. He was good last night. Mm-hmm. Gave up 2 one-timers and, like,
on the power.
What do you want him to do?
Yeah. No, I don't think his confidence is shooken because he's losing games. He lost a lot of games in Rockford last year and progressed. His game is not regressing. He's fine. Yes, in an ideal situation, he'd be the number one in Rockford, but he is the only NHL-level goalie they have healthy right now.
Right.
Because Alex Stalock is still recovering from his concussion, and Peter Mrazek has 2 groins that don't work anymore. So you kind of you're stuck with it.
Great for a goalie.
Tender groins.
And then, we've got, a couple questions about Taves' status as well.
Taves will be back in the lineup.
Yeah, they didn't practice today, so we didn't get any updates. We'll know more tomorrow morning at practice. With Reichel going right back down, that tells me they expect him to play a Friday. It's not going to be a long-term absence for Jonathan Taves.
Don't worry about it.
Yep. All right, before we get to our award segment, I want to tell you about our friends at Green Ridge Farm. They are a Chicago local meat and cheese company offering you a better all-natural option. I love the deli meats that you get at the Jewels, at the Pete's, wherever you like to do your shopping. They've got the Green Ridge Farm meats in a deli counter, but they really want you to know about their famous meat sticks. They're perfect for tailgating, happy hour, and school lunches. All natural, hardwood smoked for 8 hours, 16 grams of protein per stick, and they make a perfect post-workout snack, I suppose. Meat sticks come in chicken, black forest beef, and flavors like jalapeno cheddar and spicy chili. If you haven't tried them yet, you don't know what you're missing. Right now, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com and include a pack of those meat sticks in your cart, they will be free simply by using the code CHGO at checkout. Again, add any 3 meat products to your cart at greenridgefarm.com, include a pack of those meat sticks as well, and those meat sticks will be free with the code CHGO at checkout. Take advantage of that great deal and have some wonderful Green Ridge Farm meat. Green Ridge Farm, simply natural meat.
And speaking of great deals, if you want a great deal on sporting tickets, concerts, shows, whatever you need tickets for, you need to check out Game Time. If you ever dreamed of sitting a seat you never thought you could, like right on the glass at a Hawks game, maybe you like them 200 level seats, first row 200 level, perfect for Blackhawks games. Well, you can get the biggest last-minute price. I'm going to start that sentence over. You can get the biggest last-minute price drops over at our friends Game Times, where they will help you buy the seats you thought you never could. You won't find a better deal this season on Chicago Blackhawks tickets. Game Time is created by the fans, for the fans, guarantees the lowest price. We looked up last night. Under $20 to go see Alex Ovechkin and the Caps on Tuesday.
$14
$14 gets you in the door for future Hall of Famer Alex Ovechkin and former Blackhawk great Dylan Strome.
There you go.
Friend of the program.
Yeah.
Fourth star of the game legend, Dylan Strome.
Fourth star Hall of Famer.
So you got all that fun stuff going on. So go see our friends at Game Time. And the best way to help us out here at CHGO is to click the link that's in the podcast description. So if you're watching on YouTube, first of all, thank you. Second of all, scroll down on your way down. Smash that giant thumbs up button. Give us a like. We need those. Those are fun.
Do that.
Yep.
Then you'll see the link to Game Time. Click on that, and you'll be able to save tons of money on your sporting event, concert, and other ticketing needs. Game Time. Check them out.
Speaking of tickets and upcoming events, we also have our CHGO Bulls Takeover coming up on December 16th. That is going to be at the Crossroads Bar and Grill here on Madison Street, not too far away from our offices. That'll be before the Bulls take on the New York Knickerbockers, I believe, on that night. So that'll be a lot of fun. Come out. Get your tickets at CHGO, allchgo.com. Diehards get their discounted rate as well. So if you're a diehard, you're going to take advantage of that, and it's going to be a good time. Bulls rebuild? Question mark?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Why not? Everybody else is doing it.
Everybody else is copying us.
We'll see what happens. But that'll be a good time. I know the Blackhawks play that night on the road in Minnesota, so. I think I'll pop over to the takeover ahead of time, and then we'll be here in the offices for the game. But yeah, it'll be a good time. Come on out, come see a Bulls game. If you get a ticket to the event, it is the food and drink at the Crossroads. Yep. It is a free shuttle to and from the game from Crossroads to the United Center. And I believe it also includes the ticket to the game as well.
It does.
Yep. So yeah, that'll be a good time.
It's going to be a wonderful time. And if you're going to Crossroads, try those corn bites.
Yes, the corn tots.
Those things are really dab.
Corn tots with the, what was it, the maple butter?
Honey butter or something?
Maple honey butter, something really good.
All I know is every time I get it, I always dribble some of that down the front of my shirt.
You got to have your backup shirt.
It's a great deal.
Pattern shirts, the stains don't show up.
See, that's there you go. Brilliant. Crossroads is a great place. And, of course, if you're a diehard, you save on your ticket, allchgo.com. Become a diehard and take advantage of all these great events. We have so many events coming up soon. We've got the Bulls takeover. We've got a Blackhawks takeover coming up. That is going to happen. We'll get you details on that soon. We've got our, of course, our Chicago football tailgates.
Yep.
The next one is the 18th for Bears and Philadelphia. Tons of stuff coming up. So allchgo.com. Become a diehard. Cool. You save significantly on all of these wonderful events. So, all right, fellas, let's do it. We are 25 games in to the Blackhawks season.
Only 25, huh?
Only 25, yeah.
Feels like 125.
And I didn't have a ton to write about this week, to be honest.
Sure.
So I said, hey, 25-game mark, let's take some time for my Blackhawks beat piece and head on some awards. So I did MVP, best forward, best defenseman, biggest surprise, and biggest disappointment.
Okay.
So I'll let you guys start first since my stuff's been out there already. Mario, why don't you go first and give us your MVP of the season
MVP,
so far?
yeah, I mean, there's so many to choose from. Look, I think the on-ice product has left a lot to wish for and hope for. You know, people want to watch winning hockey, and it's just really not going to come this year. If you haven't picked up on that yet, welcome to the party. But one of the players that I think is been leading this team and is going to be probably mentioned a lot in this little segment we're doing here, Jonathan Toews. Like him coming into this season, I think there were a lot of opinions about his leadership qualities, his want to be here in Chicago and to be a part of this team as it was constructed. And you know, he came into the year saying a lot of the right things, doing a lot of the right things as far as being engaged as a captain of the team and being able to have a good attitude as the losses started to pile up. We haven't seen him be grumpy or complaining or anything like that like he was at the end of last season. And then his play on the ice has been surprising for what we maybe expected given what we saw last year. So from a perspective of both on and off the ice, I think Jonathan Toews has been better. He's been above expectations that he had coming into the season. So he is my MVP pick.
Yeah, I this was tough to pick just because there's not a whole lot to pick from.
Right.
I mean, it's easy to just say, hey, it's Patrick Kane because he leads the team in points. But, you know, Patrick Kane he's being Patrick Kane. I mean, maybe you take that for granted. You could argue it's Max Domi just because he's been better as expected. But I'm gonna also, you can also argue it's Seth Jones. I know that won't be a popular opinion, but just look at how the team was affected when he was gone.
Yeah.
Everybody now kind of back in their slot. The power play is a little more dangerous now. I'm going to agree and give it to Jonathan Toews just because he's added a lot to this team. You know, in addition to the 8 goals and 14 points, he's been amazing at the faceoff dot this year. You know, hopefully you would want more offense generated for being so good at the face-off top, but that's not necessarily his fault. There's only so much you could do with what you have. But he has been a true leader this year, and we were worried about that at the end of last year where he was saying things like, I don't know how to captain a losing team or I don't know what a rebuild is and all that stuff. Well, he figured it out in the offseason. He obviously, you know, had some conversations. He Googled some terms, whatever it was. He figured it out. But like Luke Richardson has sang his praises a lot. saying things like, yeah, when he's on the bench, he's constantly getting guys going. He's constantly coaching guys up, telling guys where to be. And then you just look at the other night, Jacob Trouba takes another run at one of his players. Who's the first guy to go get him?
Yep.
Jonathan Taves. That's not a guy that's checked out, that wants to get traded. That's a guy that's invested. That's a guy that's a leader, and he's my MVP.
All right, well, that's 3 for 3. I chose Jonathan Taves as well for all the reasons you guys mentioned. He's just been, I think coming into the season, he was a huge question mark.
Yeah.
Because we weren't sure how invested he was going to be. We weren't sure if he even wanted to be here. We didn't know if he was pissed. He was pissed last year. Derek King said crabby. Use the word. You got a crabby captain.
Grumpy, I think.
Grumpy, yeah.
Yeah.
And he came in, and we heard some stuff, in camp that he came in a little overweight, a little out of shape. But maybe he wanted to play with a little more weight on his body so he wasn't getting knocked off the puck as often as he was the last few years. So, look, as soon as the season started, he scored in the first game, and he hasn't really looked back. The two-way game he brings, the leadership on and off the ice, the face-off domination. When I wrote the thing, I haven't checked since, but he was number 1 in the NHL in face-offs at 64.2% coming into last night's game.
Yeah.
He's been terrific. So Jonathan Taves got my MVP as well. Next category
we should get to our super chat here before we move on.
Oh, yeah,
here.
let's do that.
Yeah, from Alton V, $4.99 super chat. Can give us even $5, but not going to complain. Not going to complain. Thanks, Alton. Says, just got my CHGO Blackhawks shirt. Can't wait to rock it at work. One of my favorite podcasts out there. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Alton, for being a fan of the show.
Hopefully one day we will be
getting the
not
merch.
One of your favorite podcasts, but your actual favorite podcast. But we'll take it.
Maybe we'll get that extra penny.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate it all.
And I got my CHGO hoodie today.
Nice.
Came in the mail today. Very nice. Popped it on right before I left. Still had the little the folding creases from coming out of the bag, but I love this. Here, Steven's got me on the single shot.
Good one. Very nice.
Yeah, very cool.
Can't wait to get mine.
I like the sky blue around the CHGO. Really makes it pop off the black.
And it's got the flag on the sleeve there.
Flag on the sleeve looks good.
Looks great. So allchgo.com to become a diehard. You get a free shirt or hat when you sign up to be a diehard. If you're already a diehard, you save 20% at chgolocker.com. So take advantage of that. That's where all of our merch is, including our legendary 81 design we came up with a few weeks ago in celebration of our close personal friend. You know him. Good old number 81. All right, let's move on to the best forward category. Mario, kick it off.
To avoid doubling up on MVP and best forward and most surprising, tripling up on most surprising player, I'm going to go with best forward. Like, again, like you said, Greg, you can tip it to Patrick Kane because he's leading in points, and I recognize that, but he also hasn't his point production hasn't been as quote unquote Patrick Kane like as we've seen in the past. He's still the best offensive player, but I'm going to give it to Max Domi, who at last check was 1 point behind Kane for the team lead. So, he came into this team not for a long time, but a good time. Came in to be traded. Like, that's a 1 year, $3 million deal. He's here to eventually play well, move to a contender, and get the Blackhawks some future assets in return, hopefully. The way he's playing, it's looking like that is going to plan for Kyle Davidson. That Domi is establishing himself as a guy who can produce offensively. Being back as a center apparently is doing wonders for him because he's only behind Jonathan Taves on the team in face-off percentage. He's shown some feistiness, as is the Domi way, and I think he's been good. As much as we complain and tell him to shoot more often than he is, he's making the most of it. He's doing a lot for this team, and I think that's great. He's been one of the most noticeable players in the forwards group on every night, whether it's good or bad. Like he definitely makes an impact. So I'm going to give it to Max Domi.
Yeah, I'm going to double up on that and give it to Max Domi as well. A lot of variety. I knew I shouldn't have read your article before I signed on in it, but I got some different answers coming up. Don't worry. I'm going to give it to Domi as well. I mean, you just look. He leads the team in goals, power play goals, game-winning goals. Second on a team in shots, even though we yell at him to shoot it more. Hey, he's shooting 17.3%. Shoot the puck!
Shoot a little bit more, yeah.
If you had 60 or 70 shots, you might have 12 or 13 goals right now. But because that's a completely sustainable number through 82 games. And there's a little worry about, he's been leading the team in penalty minutes too, but 17 of those 33 minutes came in the one
night
when he went defending Patrick Kane.
Right.
When he went after Jost that hit Kane late behind the boards from behind and he just jumped him.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was. Who's no longer on Minnesota. He was released.
You're right.
Yeah, he's on the Buffaloes now.
Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, the Buffaloes. So yeah, Domi's been we talk about this offense and how much it struggles on a nightly basis. And yes, 2/3 of his goals have been on the power play. But imagine how bad this offense would be without Max Domi. Mm-hmm. It'd be somehow even worse.
It'd be a tick worse.
Well, I also have Max Domi as my best forward. For a guy who has kind of had trouble sticking around with the team, he's bounced around a lot, played center, played wing, can't really find a home. The dude comes here betting on himself, knowing that if he gets an opportunity, he'll make the most of it. And what I've liked about him, aside from the on-ice stuff, is you could tell I when they signed him, my brain, I had like a bad reputation in mind for him. Mm-hmm. Like he was kind of a diva or tough to get along with.
He also, tried to goat Connor Murphy into a fight. Murphy didn't want to fight, and so he just started beating the piss out of him anyways.
Yeah.
That kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
But even before that, I felt like, well, must be a reason this guy can't stick anywhere. He's traded all the time. But he's been awesome in the locker room. He's always available. He's always thoughtful, those sort of things. And he's come here and take advantage. And what you said about shooting, Greg, is spot on. But we saw him deferring a lot to Patrick Kane. Since he moved, that was now 4 games ago, 12 shots on goal in those 4 games. That doesn't sound like a lot. But going into last night's game, it was 11-3, which is a lot better.
Only 1 shot last night. Why? Because he was playing with Patrick Kane?
Yeah, he's just asserted himself more offensively since getting away from Patrick Kane. So I hope that continues.
Kane had 7 shots.
And he's been really, really solid. A lot better than I expected. Yes, there are those moments of frustration, the dumb penalties, the not shooting when he should shoot. But overall, when you put the offense together, you put the two-way game together, you put the face-offs together, he's been terrific, way better than expected. And just like Taves, as he probably overperforms expectations, if he's going to be traded, he's driving that value up. Mm-hmm. Look, you're trading for potentially Chicago's leading scorer at the deadline. He is 1 point behind Patrick Kane. And we keep saying, like, well, Kane's going to pick it up. The points will come. We're 25 games in now. So maybe they're not. I don't know. But regardless, if he's a few points behind Patrick Kane at the deadline, that's a very appealing, inexpensive pick up at the draft for a team that's contending.
He's still winning 57% of his faceoffs.
And he could play center or wing. Mm-hmm. He could truly bounce him around on all 4 lines.
Imagine having a Stanley Cup contender where you could put Max Domi as your 3rd or 4th line center.
It's Chris Versteeg, right?
Yeah.
But better. I think Domi is a better player than Chris Versteeg.
More of an edge.
I know that's your guy.
That's my guy.
More of an edge.
Don't you besmirch.
You add him to a playoff team, and I think that's a great for a team that's not going to make a huge splash but wants to upgrade.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get a lot of people trying to get Max Domi at the deadline.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you'll have the Hawks eat half the salary because who cares, right? And the actual salary will be down because it'll be 2/3 of the season gone.
Less than $1 million.
That's a really appealing pickup.
You're getting him for pretty much nothing, but draft salary wise, you're not. Mm-hmm. You're getting him for league minimum at that point.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
And I think with him, leading the team in goals and second on the team in points, we get on him to shoot more because of the deferring, but also because we all know. writing's on the wall. He's not here to be a part of the Blackhawks' long-term plans.
Right.
So we want him to shoot and score as much as possible to get the best trade value out of him.
He's also got a freaking awesome shot.
He's also not bad at scoring goals.
Right.
Like
you don't
he
shoot
can do
17% by accident.
Right.
Like, you got to have a little bit of a shot, and we've seen it. His last couple goals were absolute snipes.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Best defenseman.
Best defenseman. Well, I'm gonna try and go a little bit off the path here. I think Seth Jones has made. You see he has the biggest impact because when the team didn't have him, it was, you're trying to produce any offense by committee, and the committee is Caleb Jones, Philip Roos, Ian Mitchell sometimes. Like it's not the same. But I'm going to go with someone who consistently, night after night, gives the same effort. You can always count on him, and is someone that we've all been a fan of on the fourth star segment. I'm gonna go. The best defenseman has been Jake McCabe. I think he's a guy that you can plug in to the lineup every night with confidence, knowing the kind of effort you're gonna get from him, know the kind of game he's gonna play. Physical. He's gonna block shots. He's going to be able to. He's a guy that can log 20 plus minutes if you need him to. And he's someone that I think, last season there were a lot of expectations on him coming in as an off-season acquisition, and was coming from an elevated role in Buffalo to a Blackhawks team that was trying to be a playoff contender, and he was part of that. Like, oh, we can maybe be a playoff contender. We have Jake McCabe, and it was a tough year for him last year. This year, I think he's playing better. I think he feels a little bit more comfortable in this role with this team. Whether he sticks out his contract is a question mark, but I think he's been one of the most dependable defensemen on this team this season. So I'm going to go with Jake McCabe.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jake McCabe. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot, but just for the sake of doing something different. And now I think Jake McCabe is probably overall throughout the opening night to now has probably been the most reliable defenseman, but the best defenseman on this team is still Seth Jones. We saw that his absence for those 10 games proved just how valuable he is in this team, because now everybody can be where they're supposed to be. And, even missing 10 games, he's still sixth on the team in shots, which goes to show that they don't have a lot of guys who like to shoot the puck. But he leads the team in ice time, and it's not even close. He's got 24-39 average ice time game. Second on the team is Jack Johnson at 20-25. So over 4 minutes more of ice time than anybody else on the team. Yep. Just eats up those minutes. Never seems to be looks like it affects him, except when he gets caught on that
Except when
magic.
he gets a 4 minute
Well,
shift.
yeah, it seems like he always gets that 3.5 minute shift every 5 or 6 games. Yeah. But otherwise, the overall load has not really affected him. I know we could talk to her blue in the face about, should he have been acquired? Should he have this contract? None of that matters, because night in, night out, he's the Blackhawks' number one defenseman. And he will remain to be the Blackhawks' number one defenseman for the next couple of seasons and maybe even beyond.
Yep. I do believe that he is the best defenseman on the team. I don't think that's a stretch. But just because of the injury and because of the total package and considering what he's coming off of, cervical spine surgery, I'm also giving it to Jake McCabe, who has just been awesome. He is a plus player on the Blackhawks. There are 3 plus players on the Blackhawks. You want to guess who they are? One of them is Jake McCabe.
Is it Tyler Johnson?
Tyler Johnson is a +1.
Because he hasn't played for a month and a half.
The third one, it's...
Is it the other injured forward, Lafferty?
It's another defenseman.
Defenseman.
I'm going to not look. I got the stats open. I'm not looking at them.
Is it Murphy?
Connor Murphy is a +2. So McCabe was a -1 last night, so he's +3. Yeah. Connor Murphy +2. Tyler Johnson +1. Jake McCabe, as of last night, going into last night, 56 block shots. That's 7th in the NHL. Number 1 on the Blackhawks. He picked up another, I think, 2 block shots in last night's game, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 2 more last night. So the dude's just a warrior. And the more time we get to spend around him in the room, you can see he's got that quiet leadership quality to him. The dude just, like, if you were to, like, draw a stereotypical hockey player, it's Jake McCabe. The guy's just a badass, tough as nails, does everything he can to win.
I'm going to give him another award. First guy chosen in the Blackhawks locker room if I need a partner in a bar fight.
Oh, God, yes.
It's just,
Yes.
But like,
That works. Yeah.
I don't get angry. He gets angry.
Yeah. Come on down. Come on, Jake. I have a cousin, 2 of my cousins, Matt and Gary. They're like brothers. They're so close. And Matt was a smartass, and Gary's a Green Beret. So when Matt and Gary would go to the bars together and Matt would talk shit to somebody, he'd be just like, whistle, and here comes Gary, like, to clean up the mess.
Yep.
Like,
That's what I want. Jake McCabe would be that to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I would go tell somebody to stick it, and then when he would stand up, Jake McCabe would be like back to school at Randy Dangerfield.
Yep.
It just crushed the napkin holder.
Yeah, Kyle M says, best D-man's a tough one for me. Several guys have had important stretches. He gives it to Connor Murphy.
Sure.
It's not a wrong answer.
No, it's not. Windy City Hockey says, Jake's willing to use his body, and I respect it. So I would agree that he's been the best blue liner so far.
See, I mean, you can even make a case that Jack Johnson is playing so far above his pants.
Truly.
That he could be the best defenseman on this team just because when's the last time he averaged 20 minutes a night? When's the last time he's been a top pair defenseman? When's the last time you've seen him, taking a puck end to end and crashing the net for an opportunity? Like, he has been so impactful in a situation in which, when we all heard that Jack Johnson was signing with the Blackhawks, it was just like, tank is on. Like, but he has been really influential on the ice as well as in the locker room. And I think you can make a case for him being one of the best defensemen. That's funny. The defensive group, there's not a guy that's performing that where you're like where you're left shaking your head like, ugh, like we need more out of him. Like maybe Caleb Jones from time to time, but
as I was writing this, I was looking at numbers.
Yeah,
Caleb Jones is analytically the Hawks' best defenseman by a lot.
Well, yeah.
Which goes to what Lafferty Daniels saying. Stats guy saying Seth Jones is one of the worst defensemen in the NHL. Can shove it. Yes, because Caleb Jones is not the Blackhawks' best defenseman by any measure. You have to watch the effing game.
Yeah.
It's not baseball.
Right.
It's not like baseball's really the only sport where I think analytics like that should really be. There's so many factors
like micro
happening.
stats.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so many factors. And yes, the stat sheets look bad for Seth Jones. I challenge those people to watch a game, put it on and use your eyeballs and watch the players on the ice and tell me Seth Jones is one of the worst defensemen in hockey.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry. I know Region Rev's watching. I shouldn't do this kind of stuff but
you
it's
still
just,
do
it's
it.
natural.
You keep doing it.
Yeah, I do keep doing it.
I definitely shouldn't
I'm
be
sorry.
doing it.
Yeah.
My
Jeez.
wrist hurts.
Jay, you're
My
gonna
wrist
go
hurts.
blind
I
over
don't know.
there.
I
Didn't
think
you
I jammed my
learn that?
wrist earlier. All right, let's get to biggest surprise. Mario, who you got for your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise has been Philip Kurashev. I think going through last season, I wanted to see more out of him. I wanted to see more out of his development, and he was just thrown around the lineup a lot and just not really given a role. This year, he was given a role. He was given an opportunity to play with consistent line mates, and when the opportunity came because of the Tyler Johnson injury, he was moved up the lineup, and he continued to play well. And there were times where he was moved up to the top line, and he continued to be effective. I think it's been surprising to see that, because part of me was, I don't want to say ready to give up on him, but part of me was expecting, like, you know what, maybe he's just one of these young guys that this is what he is. He's a fourth line scorer, if that's even a thing. But he's one of these guys where, maybe he's just an AHL NHL tweener that's playing above his role. But I think this season we've seen Kurashev develop, take an extra step in his path to being, a more well-rounded NHL player. The defensive part of his game has started to come around. I think he's creating some chances. He's getting some good opportunities. You talk about analytics. Analytically, Kurashev is one of the best players most nights. So I think that's a good that's a good indicator for where his development is. He's still young, and I think when this team is competitive again, there is a role. If Kyle Davidson agrees with me, I think there is a role for a guy like Philip Kurashev.
Yeah, I agree with that. You stole my thunder on this category a couple minutes ago. Jack Johnson is my biggest surprise.
There you go.
Because Jack Johnson's been damn good. Like, I had no expectations for Jack Johnson. We all sat here and we all saw the numbers, and we all know for the last 3 or 4 years.
It's been a punchline.
Yeah. And, he's been really good. He is second on the team in time on ice. He's averaging over 20 minutes. If you would have told me at the start of the season that Jack Johnson will average over 20 minutes a night, I'd be like, this is insane. This needs to stop immediately. Dude has been solid. He's essentially been a top pairing defenseman all season long. He plays really well with Seth Jones. He's out there giving everything he's got. Mm-hmm. You never question his effort. Great in the locker room. Great guy to talk to. You saw it in Colorado opening night. They wanted him to be out there for that banner raising ceremony. Yeah. They brought Jack Johnson out to the tunnel after the game so the Colorado media could talk to him as well. And Avs captain Gabriel Landeskog made sure to come down and give him a hug and tell him thank you. And that's just a small example of what he brings to your team. But he's been solid. Has there been one moment this season where you've been like, oh man, Jack Johnson's out there, this is going to end badly? No. The only play that pops in my head where it wasn't a good look for him happens to every defenseman in the league, and that's when Connor McDavid blew right by him the other night. But that's not because Jack Johnson misplayed it. That's because Connor McDavid is freaking Connor McDavid.
Join the club.
He'll do that to every defenseman if you let him. So Jack Johnson's my most surprising player. I had very low expectations for him this year, and he's been solid. That's a guy that Stanley Cup contender might be calling. That's a guy we brought in. We're just like, he's going to be our 6th, 7th guy. He'll rotate in and out. He could become a pretty good trade chip by March 3rd if he keeps this up.
What did the Hawks give up to get Chemo Tiemann in? Do we remember what that
It
was?
was a second round.
It
At
was
least
way too
one
much.
second rounder.
It was too much.
Was
That's
it 2
true.
second-round picks?
Whatever it was, that guy was barely mobile. But came in and provided, depth and leadership. And the guys in the room loved him. And there is value in that. Like, I know we're in this new analytic world of sports where people just look at the numbers. These guys have value. Like, Jack Johnson played 1 year in Colorado, and the Avalanche were like, there's no way he's not going to be on the ice with us here.
Yeah.
No chance. He's coming out. He's going to join us in this line. He's going to watch this banner go up with us because he was part of it.
I follow a few Avalanche people, because of our connection to Denver, but they're in the division. And there's been a lot of chatter in Avalanche Twitter this year. They wish they had Jack Johnson back. Yeah. They wish that he was back on the team. Mm-hmm. When you got a team that has Cale Makar and Bowen Byram and Sam and Devin Taves, and you're like, man, I wish we had Jack Johnson here. That's saying something.
That's significant. It matters.
They also are decimated with injuries
this
right
is true
now.
too, and we can send Jack Johnson right back to them for the price of Cale Makar.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's fair.
Low price.
Yeah, it was a second-round pick and a conditional 4th pick the next season for Tiemann.
I mean,
way too much, but
that is a big ask for Jack Johnson. I don't think they're going to get that back.
No.
But if you can get a 3rd or 4th,
sure.
Boom, done.
No problem.
Yep.
My biggest surprise is Arvid Soderblom. Not so much because he's played well, but because he's had to play so much, and that he has maintained his poise, his composure, has never looked out of place, has never looked like, I can't even think of, maybe there's a handful of goals where you say, maybe you should have stopped that one.
Yeah.
But overall, he's stopped everything he's needed to stop and just goes about his business, does his thing. He's quiet, he's poised, he's under control, and just does his thing. And I've been really pleased with how Soderblom has played this year. We talked about it a little bit earlier, so I don't need to get too much into it. But just the fact that he's, got a .906 save percentage on this team that's good. By the way, I saw somebody on Twitter damn it, I should have saved this. But someone was documenting like the drop in save percentage over the last 10 years.
I saw this, yeah.
And it's like 10% down, like the league average save percentage. So 906 5 years ago was like, 906 is above league average now at this point.
Yeah, offense is up. Yeah, I remember seeing that too. It was just like 2015 was like the league average was like 916 or something like that.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Crazy.
And part of that has to do with probably a lot of like the legendary goalies calling it a career. Like Pekka is gone, Henrik Lundqvist is gone. Yeah. Some of the others that played in that era, like Marc-Andre Fleury is he's not the guy he used to be. So the guys that would put up those great numbers are not, like Luongo's gone. So that has an impact.
Fallen off a cliff.
Who's that?
Bobrovsky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right.
And they're having like you still have Vasilevsky and you've got Shesterkin, and there are still great goalies in the league.
Shesterkin isn't even having. But
Yeah.
neither of those guys are having the years that we're used to.
It's just not an era of goalies anymore. No. So that could be playing part of it.
Not
all right,
until Drew Comessa was here.
That's exactly right. All right, let's get to our biggest disappointment. And boy, there are many choices.
But you have to have expectations to be disappointed.
I was just gonna say, how many guys though are you actually like? Ugh, I want more out of them. And
I got one.
I have one.
I think of one, and it's Patrick Kane. Like he leads the team in points, and yet, like we've said, it hasn't looked like the Patrick Kane that we're used to seeing. And we keep hearing, like you were mentioning, Jay, before, the narrative is, oh, well, the points will come. Patrick Kane's still Patrick Kane. Like, okay, let's see it then. Like his goal scoring is down. His the last time I looked, the majority, it may have changed since then, but the last time I looked a few weeks ago, the majority of his assists were secondary assists, and they were like his 5-on-5 numbers, like the rest of the team, are way down. And we can say like, oh, he's still the same guy that he's always been. He's still an elite player, and teams are going to still give up a lot to get him. It's like, okay, sure, that can all be true, but also it's, are you trying to convince a team like, hey, Patrick Kane, he's got 30 points at the trade deadline or something ridiculous. Like, if that's the case, are you still saying, oh, he's still the same Patrick Kane, he's just on a really bad team? Like, if you're going to give up what people are hoping to get for him, aren't you expecting to get a guy who's like can light up a team even on his own?
Just make sure they only watch the Rangers game.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
So I
watch this game.
I think the expectations were high for Kane to still get his points, even though this team was not going to be good. He's just not doing it, and I don't know where the corner gets turned.
Well, that's a fair point. It's like, we're over a quarter of the way through the season. It's not going to get any easier.
No.
So yeah, it's very, he was definitely one of the guys on my list. But for the sake of variety here, I'm going to go with Peter Mrazek. Has been a major disappointment. Yes, he's been hurt, but even when he's played, he's been not good.
Yeah.
Now this wasn't a guy that I thought was like, okay, we've got an elite goaltender. That thought never crossed my mind. But this is a guy that his last two contracts were given to him by teams with Stanley Cup aspirations. The Carolina Hurricanes gambled their playoff hopes on him. So did the Toronto freaking Maple Leafs, who are dying for a Stanley Cup. And part of the biggest reason it didn't work in either of those places is because he can't stay healthy, which he hasn't been able to do. He's hurt again. I can look past that. You can't control when your body gives up, or not gives up, but just breaks down, whatever. But the 9 games he's played, he's got an 884 save percentage and a 405 goals against average. That sucks.
That's horrible.
That's rough.
So he's a rebound machine. So you've got an unreliable goaltender who can't stay healthy, who when he is healthy is bad. That's a disappointment. Yeah. And I expected more out of him. I expected injuries because that's what he does. He gets hurt. But he also plays pretty good in his career. Coming into the season, his career save percentage was almost 91. That's pretty good. That's a number one. I expected the Blackhawks to have their number one goaltender set for the year, and he can't even stay on the ice. And when he's on the ice, he's not good. He's not. He's the third. He's the worst goalie on this roster right now.
Yeah.
Healthy or unhealthy.
Yeah, starting in Carolina, 914, 905, 923 save percentage. Then he goes to Toronto last year, 888, in Chicago, 884.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And he's been dealing with injuries the last 2 seasons.
sure, and that's fair.
A lot. But yeah, it's still when you're healthy, you're hoping that that level of play can be reached.
Spencer says in the chat he's been the sacrificial lamb that gets to be pelted with goals while the team is bad. Well, Arvid Soderblom and Alex Stalock are in the same situation.
Playing against the same team.
And are performing better.
Stalock's got it over almost 92 save percentage. His goals against is under 3. Granted, very small sample size.
Right.
Had he been playing this whole time, I'm sure those numbers would have regressed a bit. But still, numbers are the numbers. He's been the worst by far of the 3 goalies. Yes, they're all playing, behind this porous team, but he's doing the worst, and he's the one that was supposed to do the best.
Yeah, you were hoping for replacement level starter.
Yeah.
Not a guy who's going to steal you games, but it's going to keep you in them. And he hasn't been that. And yeah, Region Rev makes a good point that he's made some unbelievable saves in the first few games. That's true. And he's done those. There's been a lot of saves he's made that have been unreal. And those are shadows of what he used to be. But overall.
But then he kicks a rebound right back to the
the rebounds are out of control.
Yeah. Too inconsistent. I had a little bit of expectations for him. And that's why he's my biggest disappointment. That I think he was going to be a Vezina candidate? No, but I just thought he was going to be a somewhat solid, reliable starting goaltender, and he hasn't been any of that.
No. Yeah. Well, you got a first-round pick for taking him, so that works.
That works.
All right, my biggest disappointment, and I hate to do this, but I'm giving it to Sam Lafferty.
He was one of my candidates.
It's a guy who we loved last year. From the second he was traded to the Blackhawks from the Penguins, you saw a guy who played a north and south game, a physical game, lots of speed. Starts the season this year with 7 points in his first 9 games. And yes, he's been hurt, of course, but has not scored a point since.
Yeah.
So 7 in the first 9, then won 10 games without a point. Look, he's not an offensive player, but even when he wasn't scoring last year, you noticed Sam Lafferty. Most games he's been in since that scoring streak ended, he was hard to find. And that's a guy who I believed, and honestly still do believe, has a place in this organization when the arrow starts pointing up a little bit. I do think that he's a guy who you can put in that fourth line role, move him around, in a pinch can play up, top 2 or 3 lines. I like him. I really like Sam Lafferty, but I expected more from him, and hopefully when he comes back from this injury, he's the guy we saw the first part of the season and not the second part, because it's like 2 different guys. Mm-hmm. So I hate to do it, but I expected him to be one of the young players that we could really count on night after night to at least be noticeable and make an impact on the game. And I feel like, the last 10 games for him have been tough. And acknowledging injured, but
prior to the injury,
invisible. Yeah. So I can't wait for him to get back. I can't wait for Tyler Johnson to get back, just so the games are a little more competitive. Because you've got like 6 Reese Johnsons out there somehow. And I don't know how that works, but they're doing. Like
I know how it works. It's not good.
They've got a Reese Johnson factory. So many Johnsons.
All the Johnsons.
Yeah. All right, before we wrap up, let's tell our good friends about Shady Rays and other friends.
I suppose we could talk about a little Shady Rays. Of course, I got myself 2 new pairs of Shady Rays last night, and the sun hasn't come out since, so that's my luck.
Way to go.
Yeah, my fault, my bad. But Shady Rays never understood why quality sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change the market, and that's exactly what they've done. You don't need to break the bank for sunglasses this winter, because friends at Shady Rays, they have you and your eyeballs covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle. I actually, even when the sun's not out, I prefer to drive with my Shady Rays on. It just makes everything look crisper and cleaner. Best part about Shady Rays is they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Did you drop them in the lake? Did they fall off a cliff? What Peter Mrazek's save percentage? Doesn't matter. They will replace them. Even with that strong of a protection program, they still managed to make quality that I could tell you from wearing them for the last couple of years. They are just as good, if not better, as any of those expensive brands on the market. Shady Rays also does something really cool. They provide 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order placed and have donated over 20 million meals to date. That's a lot of meals. So they're doing something good in the community while you're looking good in your community. And they stand behind their product. They told our team that if anyone has a problem, they will throw profit out the giant test window they have at the Shady Rays factory, and they will do whatever it takes to get it right. Free returns and exchanges. You either love the shades or Shady Rays will pay to ship them back. That's it. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use the promo code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. That's buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs of awesome sunglasses for as low as $54. Be the sunglasses guy at Christmas this year or Hanukkah or whatever holiday you're celebrating. Whatever gifts you're giving, give everybody some awesome sunglasses.
Festivus.
They will, yes, that's the perfect Festivus gift. Redeem only at shadyrays.com where you can find all their newest and best shades.
And if you're looking for a holiday gift for the tailgater in your life or the person who hosts the backyard barbecues, get them a quality cornhole set from Chi-Town Custom Cornholes, the #1 cornhole provider for the Chicagoland area and Illinois since 2007. Their signature box designs can be digitally printed, covered in vinyl, and painted, and their cornhole boards come with built-in drink holders in the back of the boards, which are very useful. The holes, the cornhole holes, have LED lights around them, so you can do your cornholing at night. They have exterior handles for easy carrying because they are not the lightest pair of cornhole boards, but that's because they're made of sturdy, good quality wood, and they are handcrafted, and they have the scorekeepers in the back, abacus style, for when you're getting use out of the drink holders. You can keep score, not have to do a lot of mental math. They can ship anywhere and offer local pickups, which is great. They're also veteran-owned and operated, which is great. And they make, like I said, great holiday gifts. They can do corporate designs for your company's next marketing or social event. They make good wedding gifts, gifts for all occasions. Hey, it's Wednesday. Here's a set of cornhole boards. Go out to their website, ChiTownCornhole.com, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Chi-Town Custom Cornhole Boards. See all of their designs, their great work, and find the cornhole set that works for you in your life.
And finally, DraftKings Sportsbook, the best in the world. Hockey fans, light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Listen, I've been playing the same game parlays like pretty much nonstop. It's my favorite thing to do. I can throw a buck down and win a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. I put 40 in my bank. I'm up to 67 something in a short couple of weeks. So it's a really fun way to play. Jump on those. You can buy multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at one of those bigger payouts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code CHGO. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And we got a question from the Steve. Any updates on our first-round picks from this year? Rebuild report coming later this week.
Rebuild report.
CHGO.com. Don't miss it.
Tomorrow.
Thursday.
Yeah, it's going to be
Friday, whenever.
Yeah, things are going well. We're gonna talk with Cam Robinson as well tomorrow, director of film scouting with Elite Prospects. He's gonna be able to tell us a lot about the Blackhawks prospects that will be heading to the World Juniors later this month, and most of those are Canadian, so that helps. That he's probably seen a lot of them over his time. So yeah, things are going pretty good for those first rounders this year. We'll get into more of it tomorrow, and in the rebuild report as well.
Specifically about Nazar, don't expect to see him this year.
He had surgery, and last I checked, it was likely going to end his season. So, and our Windy City Hockey alerting us, yes, the time change for the New Year's Eve game for the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets. It was a 6 o'clock start. It will now be a noon start time.
I'm okay with that.
Nice.
We like that.
I approve.
Plan your New Year's Eve.
Steven, our producer, is very happy about that. Now
Yes.
That's what I was doing on my laptop over here. I'm like, I got to make sure this is true.
There you
now,
go.
now he can go out and party. He can start his
Hardy.
He can start his partying at 6 p.m. as opposed to 11 p.m.
There you go.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So, yeah, noon on New Year's Eve. If you're not watching the plethora of college football, watch the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets in the
important
Tank
game.
Bowl.
Yeah, it's a big
It's a
tank game.
must-lose game.
Toilet Tank Bowl.
Exactly. All right, we're back tomorrow at 2:30 on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.